Hi, Ed here for MMORPG in a secret London location. We're currently here for the launch of Wargaming.net's World of Tanks Operation Sealion campaign for their War Stories game. It currently is launched on consoles and is already out for you to experience. We're currently here with, well, why don't you introduce yourself for everyone?
My name is Rico and I'm the Community Product Specialist for World of Tanks console in Wargaming Europe.
And Rico, World of Tanks is normally considered to be a massive scale PvP game that's very much about competitive gaming. Why launch a PvE focused game?
Well, to be blunt, it's always an option that our players like to have. The option to let them play PvE allows to tell a story that PvP can't. In many ways, it allows our game to be a bit more complete.
And the PvP side of World of Tanks is very much player driven. It's very much about who's the best, who's the top of the table. It's 30v30, but War Stories is very much grounded in reality. It's a what-if campaign about what could potentially have happened if the outcome of history had changed. And in Operation Sealion, that's if the Nazis invaded Germany. Again, why give players that rather than let them drive their own content? How does that experience change the game?
Well, you do have that point where, and in all fairness, so far our War Stories campaigns are based on alternate history. This is basically the moment where you need to beat back the Germans out of Britain. And it's a last chance, because at that point they're basically in London and you need to fight them off. So you basically need to push them back to the mainland. And in my experience, it's that last-ditch effort that will make you, let's say, feel a bit more like a hero. It's more individualized, which is something that PvP sometimes doesn't have.
And in terms of that, it gives you the opportunity to give a relatively similar experience to a broad range of players, be they newcomers to the game or experienced veterans. How are you finding that different levels of player that would normally experience the game in ranked matches are finding the PvE content that's coming out to console?
Well, one of the things that we actually have seen when it comes to feedback from the players, that newer players love War Stories.
Yeah.
And for the veterans, it's that new angle on things that keeps the game fresh for them, that keeps them in. So that is one of the main goals, which we can say that has been achieved with War Stories.
And is that the reason why you've gone ahead and, as a company, you've given players new vehicles, new tanks that they wouldn't necessarily have within PvP, rather than copy and paste those straight out of the PvP game into the PvE element?
True, but the main focus here would be on the storytelling and on you being the hero of the whole experience. The fact that PvE is basically more focused on you, and that, for instance, on Operation Sealion, your tank, while still valid, it's still a bit. It's not as good as it could be.
Yeah.
So you need to be better. You need to experience through, let's face it, failure every now and then, but you will need to learn. You will need to figure out what to do, because you can't go in blindly and do what you usually do on PvP. You need to be smart. You need to be more clever than you normally are. You need to grow as a player. Yeah.
And in terms of that, obviously the game itself, it hasn't taken a full 180-degree turn, but it's a very different tact on the way that Wargaming has produced games up until now. Has that really changed the way that you've approached things like the AI in the game and how you deliver that content to players?
Well, we actually work really hard on the AI for the bots that we use in War Stories.
Yeah.
And I think that in the future we can actually make them better.
Yeah.
We'll see how it works on future campaigns.
Yeah. And are you finding, what's the feedback been like from players when they've been going ahead and they've been getting into the game? Have they been finding that it's been enjoyable? Has the AI been too hard or easy? Have you been taking feedback from the players regarding that already?
Well, certainly we have taken feedback from the players because we need to be aware of the way that they think and they feel about the mode. Now, if I may go into my personal experience with the mode, there is, like I said, you can't charge in blindly as you would with basically dumb bots.
Yeah.
You need to be smart, you need to position, you need to do things that sometimes you don't even need to do in regular PvP.
Yeah.
So, in a way, it has helped me grow a bit as a player.
Yeah.
And this is actually something that I think that I would like for our regular player base, if possible, to go into war stories, to give it a go. Maybe every now and then they will learn something that they didn't know before.
Yeah.
And if it manages to make them better, then we've won.
And talking about learning something that they didn't know before, do you feel that the war stories, as I've said earlier, are very much grounded in the reality and the what's if that might have come from that? Do you feel that that makes certain parts of the player base more invested in the game rather than simply, I'm going to kill him? It's something that they know. I mean, being here in London, we know that Operation Sealion could have happened. Does that really invest your player base in the game?
Certainly. For instance, we had Operation Sealion that went live, where you basically have to defend the UK from the Germans. But one of our previous campaigns, Flashpoint Berlin, you basically had to fight your way through to West Berlin to relieve the population.
Yeah.
So it's something that, in the end, you know a bit of history, so you know how things could have happened.
Yeah.
And then in the specific case of Flashpoint Berlin, you know what would have happened if the air bridge had failed. The population would have starved. So you have that extra awareness of it, that even though it's a game, you do know that if this was real, there would have been very real consequences attached to it. So you do have that little extra of trying to push and trying to make it work. Then there's the challenge itself of, because you're always outnumbered by the enemy team, so you want to do better. You want to be better.
Yeah.
So at least that's my take on it. So.
Yeah. And in terms of, obviously we've talked about the changes to the way that the game's interpreted by players, but obviously telling the story is a big part of it, and we've already gone over that. But there's also another big change to the way that you give players information and you tell story, and that's in the motion comics that are coming in. In terms of that, why did Wargaming decide to use motion comics in telling a story like this?
Well, in a way, it's I don't want to say cinematic because it's probably the wrong term to use. But we already had a previous experience with comics, and that we released a comic in association with Dark Horse. That was focused on some specific tanks. That we then released the tanks from the comic, and then we already had that identity, so to say. And why not progress on that identity and use it again? So and we went on that path, and again, personally, I like it, but
so in terms of the game, it seems to have been very well received. It's on console. Is there any plans to bring that to the PC?
Well, so here's the thing. Console and the console version and the PC version are developed by different teams. Now, it will be up to the PC team whether or not they want to. However, we are more than ready to share with them whatever information they want so that they can deliver their version, if they so wish. But again, it's their option. Yeah,
entirely. But, you know, if I had to say, it's a great element of the game that's come out. It would benefit it to be in the PC version, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, thank you very much, Rico, for your time today. We're obviously here in London, defending London in Operation Sealion. If you are lucky enough to have a PlayStation or Xbox One, then feel free to check out Wargaming's War Stories and check out MMORPG.com for more news on the upcoming releases from Wargaming.net and World of Tanks. I've been Ed. Thank you very much for watching.